welcome back to the LEC Summer Split and Origen versus Misfits Gaming. Drakos and Frosk.
Yeah.
Yes.
You stay on my mind, think about you all the time.
It's so funny because it's like, I don't know if anyone else is, I'm just so hooked in. Like I hear it, even if it's not playing anymore, it's just always in the back of my head.
I don't know if it's us because we're in the studio, so we hear it every time.
Or if it's like everyone.
If everyone who's watching is also enthralled by the beat. We just can't turn it off.
Just like the subtle head nod for an entire segment.
What is that movie where they're in the car and they're just
Night
there?
at the Roxbury?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Back on topic, because that's what a host does. We are about to get into Origen versus Misfits, and both teams, they made it to playoffs in spring, and they're two clear candidates for a spot at Worlds, and therefore we wanted to discuss where we stand on them after 2 games, and it's not that easy, I think, especially for Misfits, who were competitive yet lost versus Fnatic, but then got destroyed by Rogue. Where are we on Misfits?
Okay, I think we're going to use the P word here. It's most people's
Potential?
least favorite words, but it is the potential word. So let's talk about what we have seen that's been good. It's Kobbe. Kobbe looks excellent, does look like a clear upgrade over Bvoy, which is refreshing to see given it's the only major roster change. Obviously, they're moving between their supports. DOS looked a little lost. Razork looked a little lost. But if you want good news, Misfits fans, it's that you've been here before. First week in spring was an absolute shit show. But then what happened? 7 wins back to back. Ooh, and maybe, just maybe, you can hope for something similar here. But for now, it's clear Misfits have some things to sort out.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like much more to say there. It's the issue is that again we're on a time crunch. The expectations for Misfits is that they want to be competitive to make it into playoffs to potentially grab that last ticket. I think they can do it with Kobbe. I like Febiven, but we can't have like intentional griefing happening on the Rift again because I'm going to be real honest, Razork and DOS ran it down real hard.
That was Razork's worst game ever.
Yeah, they spring once again. But here's my new angle, right? And this one's a little forced, so bear with me. When did Misfits suck last season? Second half of the season, right? Season is shorter now. So season is shorter now.
Okay,
so if they do good enough in the first half, because the season is now shorter, there's less time. There's less time for them to screw it up in the second half.
Yeah, I see that we're getting away from actual analysis here, and since that's a gripe that people have with our broadcast sometimes, I think I'm gonna leave it at what you said first.
I got it. Okay. Our broadcast is always known for just like BS narratives, so I've got the narrative.
Yep.
Origen versus Misfits is the most intense rivalry you'll ever see because it's Trevor Henry's previous wife versus his current one.
All right, listen, I don't want to let this completely get away from us, so I am going to kind of summarize what I heard. What I did hear here is we've seen good things and bad things from Misfits, and the potential is there. They have an upgrade with Kobbe, but now it is for the rest of them to kind of get on the same page and make it happen because they're very capable of winning against these teams. The question is, are they capable of winning versus Origen? Origen went from losing to SK to beating the reigning champions in G2, so that's also a hard one because we've seen this before. We know that Origen can do this, but can they consistently do this?
I don't think it's that hard because I think that Origen just had an egotistical read on SK. They didn't respect the Thresh. The Thresh then boomed them. They thought they were fine with the Nautilus. And then Origen immediately like switched gears, came out with the composition that they did against G2 and looked great. And that's the expectation. So I don't actually take Origen losing to SK being like, oh, are they going to be consistent? Have they learned from the mistakes? No, I actually think Origen are just a strong team. In the matchup specifically across from Misfits, Misfits used to be a team that could only carry through mid-jungle. It was all about Razork and Febiven, and that's exceptionally hard to do against Xerxe and Nukeduck, who basically just neutralize you. Now that Kobbe is on the roster, first picking things like the Callisto when games go well, suddenly Misfits have more threats. Against Origen, however, you're still then running into upset. So yes, any safe bet would be on Origen, but at least now Misfits aren't just going to run mid-jungle into Xerxe and Nukeduck and hit a brick wall.
With that, what's their X factor? What do Misfits do then if they are up versus a team that is fundamentally stronger?
I mean, when you look at Razork, he's had these savant performances and he's had these int performances, I think it's safe to say. So we need to see that peak level Razork. We need to be reminded of the Razork that beat G2 last split, honestly, if we want to see that. And while you're worried about the bottom lane, I kind of trust that it's going to go even. My biggest fear is setting up Dan for success, for comfort, for something that can provide to the team. Because you're going versus Alphari and OG. The only person on this team that has looked good for 100% of the split so far is Alphari, and he's a man I think you have to respect.
All right, let's see. These teams have potential to reach far here in summer, and they're looking for a statement win to close out week 1. Let's go.
Thank you very much, Sjokz and Analyst Desk. We're about to jump into the draft here. Origen versus Misfits. It's going to be interesting because of how the results have played out and how the games, honestly, from both sides have just been so interesting, and they
Yeah.
they couldn't be more different. So I want to see what Misfits can do. I think there's more question marks around them than Origen right now, because obviously Misfits, they lost to Fnatic, they put up a strong fight, but it was Origen that was able to seal the deal against G2.
Yeah, I mean, I think both sides have a lot of great things going for them. I thought the bounce back from OG from day 1 to day 2 was huge.
Yeah.
Especially Xerxe. I thought his day 2 performance was absolutely phenomenal and looked like, peak Xerxe that you love to see as one of the better junglers in Europe. On the flip side, however, day 2 Misfits was anything but their match up against Fnatic. And I felt like very early on, from the level 1 death from DOS to Razork going way too deep for a play in the mid lane, it felt like the mental fell apart. They got a little bit tilted. So I think this team still is good. Their performance against Fnatic was very good, and I'm hoping they can do a similar reset to that we saw Origen do yesterday.
I actually reached out to Amazing, who's on the support staff for Misfits, to talk a little bit about, what happened after that loss and how they're feeling coming into this game. And I'm just going to read a quote really quickly, that they feel as confident as just any other game, and they think the Fnatic game was much more of an indication of their power level, and that's the standard that they're going to hold themselves to. He does go on to say that the mood is good in the camp, and they're looking forward to a competitive game. They think they can win against Origen, and now we just have to see how they prove it in the draft, how they prove it in game. I want to see what's going to happen, Kobbe versus Upset. This is it's always an exciting matchup, and it is one that's going to be pivotal. But obviously, we need to get Kobbe into a position where Febiven, DOS, as well as Razork are helping him out as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like an AD carry focused meta, right? We saw the Aphelios last game, guys. We're no strangers to ADCs showing up in these team fights and carries. Yeah, clearly. So many years collectively. But honestly, I am looking at this matchup as being like super impactful later on in the game. But a little bit deeper than that, I actually think this matchup will fall down to junglers again, because they did have pretty varying performance overall. And when it comes to like actually putting your AD carries in a position to carry, it is the junglers and how they can impact inside of that early game. So I want to see Razork bounce back. I want to see Xerxe looking like yesterday.
Drakos and Froskurinn were just touching on it before they cut across to us. Top difference, Alphari taking on Dandan. Let's shine a light there, because I think, we've come to see different levels of Razork. He's has the ability to have a huge impact in the game. But I think unequivocally Alphari is just a stronger player than Dandan, so it's a difficult matchup. So what can Misfits do to sort of counterbalance that?
I mean, there's a lot of different variations you can do, whether or not it's saving like a counter pick in the top lane for Dandan, which I think is the less likely approach, because I think Alphari in pretty much any matchup is going to be very, very good. I'd rather see them put more resources towards Febiven inside of the draft, who I think has been having a phenomenal year, quite frankly. Yeah, and then apart from that, Razork visiting top lane early, that's what we're going to be looking at to see if they can swing the top lane.
We're jumping into draft. Thank you again for bearing with us, during some of the connection issues that we are experiencing. And now we get to see what these teams are going to prioritize. When you've got Upset on your roster, when you've got Kobbe on your roster, you have to think that they are considerations, but then I think there's more to prove for Misfits than for Origen here.
Absolutely. Absolutely, especially after OG just took down G2. So coming into this draft, we're expecting very much the same. Week 1, sometimes you see like teams come in with very different approaches because they've had different scrim partners coming into the year, different reads on the meta. Everyone pretty much seems to agree, especially after watching the midseason cup. AD carry bans are where it is at. We're going to see Varus, we're probably going to see a Kalista ban, Ezreal up there as well. All sorts of these picks to keep your eyes on. Oh, and Aphelios.
Aphelios has to be mentioned, of course. Yuumi taken away from DOS, followed up by a Blitzcrank as well.
Yeah, the Blitzcrank is very interesting here, coming through from Origen. Of course, I think we saw Hylissang pull that out yesterday and looked very good on that. That's almost hinting to me that it could be the Thresh here for Destiny. Blitzcrank has been used as a very good answer to Thresh. Siley pulled someone out of that lantern yesterday too, so that's what I've got my eyes on here for Destiny in the bot side.
Well, the Kalista, there you go, taken away from the pool, followed up by the Syndra, and the Aphelios finds himself in the ban pool. So Ezreal is still open. You have to expect that to be first pick, with the others taken away. And now Kobbe's gonna look for another option to run. Yumi's banned away, and it's going to be Kai'Sa. The first Kai'Sa of the Summer Split.
This is exciting here. Seeing Kobbe on this one too has a lot of playmaking potential on that one. We're mostly seeing the AP build these days, so the W poke very dominant, and especially when you match up against an Ezreal, being able to contest him at range is going to be quite powerful tool. That's the Thresh I was mentioning previously for Destiny bot side with the Blitzcrank ban, so pretty solid bot lane matchups overall, but I mean, let's face it, Kai'Sa plus Nautilus is sort of the standard pairing when it comes to that ADC.
And now we need to find out, how do these solo laners get rounded out? You suggested that one of the ways Misfits could help Dan is with a counter pick option in the top lane. Leave him for last pick. Look for something a little bit safe in the middle lane. Oriana's banned away. We've been seeing a lot of Corki and Azir and Zoe, you know, a number of those options.
Yeah, and if we're banning away standard mid laners, it almost feels like Misfits might want to go for just like another one, because right now you still have Corki and Azir as being open and available. So they have the choice now. Do you want to switch it up and ban a top lane champion and then wait for mid lane counter pick? Or I think if you ban another mid laner here, you're just going to take either the Corki or the Azir, or force, frankly, Origen to ban away the other option.
I hope that happens and then we see something different. That would be very, very happy for me. The Oriana and the LeBlanc find themselves in the ban pool, and Misfits, let's see what they're going to ban out. A few seconds left on this phase 2 ban. And it's going to be the Corki, okay. So Azir is still open. So they wanted to remove that if it was even worthwhile.
I mean, I think Azir slots in here very nicely. Just gives yourself really strong backline options. So if I was Origen, I would be personally eyeing that option. A potential other pick would be the Ornn up in the top side too. If you're looking for scaling options in the mid lane, Dan could just slot onto that champion, and that sort of backs up your Nautilus as having two pretty big engage options.
It's going to be Gangplank instead. So a number of the big tank options are still there if you wanted them, depending on what Misfits and Origen want to do to round out their comps. There's a lot of versatility in the champs that we've already seen on the Rift, and you can really kind of go any direction.
This is going to be an Azir.
Okay. What would you like to see Origen run into it? Corki's not there.
Actually, with Zoe being open, I think Zoe could be a decent option here for them. You're already running the Ezreal, so playing a little bit slower in fights. You have a good front line to set it up. Trundle Pillar makes landing skill shots super, super easy. Of course, you do have to then worry about some hard engage coming through from the Misfits side.
Do it. Do it. Give me the Ekko. Give me the Ekko. Nope, I'm going to pivot away. We'll find out what it's going to be in just a moment. Now, of course, neither top laner has locked in their champions, and Alphari, we feel, will have an advantage here. He's going to lock in the Renekton blind, and Dan's going to figure out what he wants to run into that. Not going the tank top that we've...
No, I mean, Alphari doesn't like the tanks anymore.
No, he does not.
No, he can play the tanks. He was known for like 3 years for playing tanks, but hey, there's your Ekko in the mid lane as an option in towards this Azir. This is an interesting matchup because, of course, Azir does have the range advantage, but Ekko can pretty easily clear the waves away with Q once he gets a few points, and sometimes you see the Protobelt as an option here too to fast push the wave and then set up dives on opposite lanes. So that has got to be the idea here for Origen. Get Nukeduck out of this middle lane and set up to play around presumably Alphari given this matchup.
Oh man, and it's going to be the Aatrox now locked in. Okay, so let's zoom out, look at the 5-mans, their compositions. What do you make of both?
All right, so I think Origen, they sort of pivoted because, right, you have the Ezreal scaling, the Trundle, and now they just said, hey, Ezreal, upset, you're going to be on your own. We're looking to dive into the backline. We're looking to disrupt, you know, the Azir and the Kai'Sa on the other side. And Misfits, too, very good skirmishing options with the Aatrox to end the late game scaling insurance. This is a matchup where, given enough time, I think Febiven and Kobbe are going to be really hard to deal with, given the self-peel options they do have with like the Azir wall and whatnot. You have a Nautilus too to try and interrupt as well right there. But Origen, if they're able to unlock Nukeduck early on, find these dives, deny minion waves in side lanes, they're going to look very explosive towards mid-game in 2 items.
You have to expect it going top. You have to expect it. It's going to be Origen taking on Misfits. Let's hit the Rift. And welcome to the third game on the third day of the first week of the Summer Split. I want to see what Nukeduck's going to do on Ekko. I'm very excited to see this. Ekko into Azir. We didn't get the Corki or the Zoe. And of course, we've got Renekton versus Aatrox top. So I'm expecting a little bit more trading, a little bit more fighting. And whether or not Razork or Xerxe can impact the game, you know, Ender, you talked about it before the draft, that this role could be the most influential.
Yeah, and especially because we're seeing two champions that usually are going like both buffs into a Gromp and then looking to make some plays happen around the map. Top lane is a bit of my focus earlier on in this one, because as soon as, you know, this matchup starts swinging one way, it becomes really hard, you know, to deal with. You know, either way that ends up going for these players. But of course, I think that when Nukeduck is looking for these roam timers, Xerxe is sort of going to visit that middle lane first and try to rotate that pressure up into either top or bot. I just feel like with Kobbe running an exhaust and Nautilus down to the bot side, that's going to be the harder lane to make a dive work out on.
Yeah, definitely the case. And you mentioned it in draft as well, upset Destiny, leave them alone, get Nukeduck to go help out Alphari. I want to take just a quick second, and I want to ask the fans at home a question. I want to ask the fans at home whether or not they think Alphari is the best top laner in the LEC. It's fairly unanimous on our side of the camera, right? But I want to know if fans agree. Vote in chat. Type yes or no. Ooh. Now, Xerxe is going to go for a gank here in the middle lane. Get a couple autos onto Febi. Not the most exciting as the time winder jumps backwards. But just for a quick bit of context on how dominant Alphari was during the spring split, he had a forward percentage of 42%. So the amount of time he spends across the halfway line, as you can see now on the Renekton. Gold difference at 15,388. Damage per minute difference of +114. He was just such a monster to deal with. And I want to see whether or not the fans at home agree. We're anticipating and expecting Xerxe and Nukeduck to come up to the top lane and help this Renekton out, unlock him in the lane.
I mean, he doesn't need help early on. Renekton's going to be happy times.
To snowball him ahead then. Let's push him further.
Sure,
let's go that way. Let's go that way.
Yeah, but honestly, like, Alphari has just had such a phenomenal year. Like, if you're voting no right now, maybe you're like a fan of a different team, or you need to get your eyes clean, get some glasses, something like that.
And this is why I asked. 38% of the fans at home think that Alphari is the best top lane in the LEC.
Chat, hear me out. Like, you want to look smart? Start voting yes. I'm just saying. You make a good impression here. Maybe we invite you on.
Give me a few thoughts as to why we love Alphari so much.
He's just so consistently dominant in the top lane. You look across his numbers, he's always building up advantages, and it was sort of an interesting transformation for the player who was always the weak side top lane. And then he's like, no, give me all the reins in the latter half of 2019, and then in spring split, like, you have other players that can have good performance, but they don't maintain that same level of consistency as Alphari. And, like, you saw his matchup yesterday. He looked so insane up there against Wonder.
Right now, he's being pushed backwards as the wave is pushing towards him. Looking at the mini-map, Razork is making his way up. So is Xerxe. And pretty much everything as expected for now. Xerxe is going to look to clear out this Gromp. And honestly, this is exactly what we anticipated from the early stages. Alphari, I wonder if he's trying to set something up. Yeah, Xerxe is in the right area.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a little bit hard here. Dan has the ability to sort of just bounce this wave on the next one right here, and Xerxe isn't pathing around him. I also want to say that Xerxe had a really weird level 2 gank around the middle lane. And this is something that I wonder if it infiltrates his pathing a little bit more, because I've always looked at Xerxe and been like, this is the most, like, I don't want to say farm-orientated, but he's the most efficient jungler in the LEC. He's always, like, trying to min-max his pathing, doing the math on the camps, making sure he's out-leveling his opponents. And in his day one performance, he actually spent a lot of time, hovering around lanes. He was spotted on a lot of wards, and it didn't work out. Then yesterday against G2, he was back to the basics, only going for ganks when he knows they're going to work out. So seeing him walk mid lane at level 2 was a little bit of a surprise to me, and was maybe hoping to burn a flash, because now, of course, he's paired up with Destiny to try and make something happen.
Okay, let's see what Destiny can do. He's running the Thresh. Got that flash exhaust. Febiven is underneath his tower for now. And DOS and Razork are nearby. So if this extends past the initial exchange, there is some support. Misfits not going to be jumped on just yet.
This map movement is really nice, though, from OG, because so often you'll see a jungle and support walk mid, drop their wards, and then sort of go their separate ways, and then the other duo will then reply. So they see multiple people down bot side, and now they're up top lane to go for the dive.
Oh, Dandan's in so much trouble. Phase dive is available for Nukeduck. He's going to chuck out the Time Winder. Alphari's using all the abilities. A lot of damage from Dandan onto Alphari, and as the tower is about to kill him, or Xerxe,
he does
escape.
that.
Nukeduck is surviving! He survives.
Okay.
Dandan almost pulling something off.
That was like 12 HP right there. That was looking real rough. Now, Alphari does have teleport, so I'm going to see if he holds on to that before going top lane. Here it goes.
No Dragon's Rage kick. The Lantern is going to get picked up by Upset. Dandan finishes the TP, gets the knockup onto Destiny, and the chains won't pull anybody back. 5 Misfits in the bottom lane, and support has come. Alphari's TP down as well, and Misfits are going to back away.
Oh, man, this is worst news possible for Dandan. He just died underneath his top lane tower. Now he teleported towards the bot lane, and I mean, he loses that. Well, Alphari TP's bot and gets an entire wave, so the best possible case for Alphari. And if we could go check out the top lane real quick, it's important to notice that while Dandan TP's in the bot lane, look at this wave that's stacking up. Like, this is absolutely gigantic
so
right
painful.
here. Like, he's going to lose all of that. Alphari already is up 15 minions because of the dive and the wave he picked up bot side, and now Dandan loses 3 waves consecutively. His game is over.
Oh, so difficult in the matchup as well. Now, Misfits do pick up the first dragon, a consolation prize, because Alphari's going to be able to unlock so much from this
Dandan's
next few minutes of
thanks
play.
for the 2 armor, guys. I'm having a blast up here.
Yep, definitely the case. 500 gold lead, first blood in their hands. Dandan picking up the Scuttle Crab as he simply cannot go stand underneath the tower.
It's on a ward. Does he get stolen? No, it doesn't. Good. Nukeduck. Not risking it here. Positioning not too hot for him, but I mean, this is a situation where I keep trying to pan up towards top lane and see if it's going to be the phrase. I do think Alphari is starting to push this one back towards Dandan's side of the map. But again, we're at the point where this mid lane wave is about to be soaked up by Nukeduck. Xerxe is around the top side of the map. Could he just build up these 2 waves to stack on top of each other and look for another dive? The waves are telling me that's what could happen.
Okay, so how do you salvage this top lane, right? Dandan's in a difficult situation. Do you abandon it? What decision-making do Misfits do with the scenario they're in?
Honestly, you lane swap and like do the aim and a herald swap,
okay,
right? Because otherwise Dandan is going to be on this side of the map where there is an objective. You know pressure is going to be put down towards him. Now, Nukeduck, instead of going to make the roam happen on the top side, did go ahead and pick up the blue buff instead. So things are remedied for the time being, but now Upset and Destiny are resetting. They're very likely going to be running back up towards this top side of the map, knowing Dandan has no flash and the dive can come through. And with the late reset from Kobbe and DOS, Xerxe is just going to start this one up, no contest.
Yeah, waves completely pushing in favor of Origen, starting that Rift Herald completely uncontested. Now Razork will make his way towards the pit, but I think he might be just a little too late. 3,000 HP, he is going to be enough to threaten Xerxe and Alphari.
So here's the thing, Kobbe and DOS didn't reset. They said, we need to get up here, we're just gonna sprint. But now they're too late. Xerxe's gonna get that one. These players haven't taken a reset. They're not gonna be top lane to defend against the push. That means OG can knock down 2.5 tower plates, then place the Rift Herald, instant tower, and there's nothing to trade for Misfits on the rest of the map. They've got 3 people randomly in mid lane that are, I don't know, like fighting for CS, while bot lane, no one is farming, no one's taking plates. OG have just won the map.
Theorize for me, is this panic decision-making or is this missing information?
No, it's just bad decision-making from Misfits. I don't know what they're doing. Kobbe and DOS took a late reset because they were, you know, out-pressured in the lane, and now they're just gonna get caught.
Should have been caught. The death sentence doesn't find a target. I don't know if they had full vision there or not. Nevertheless, Destiny unable to connect onto DOS or Kobbe. They're gonna be able to walk up to the tower. Turret plate did not fall.
Okay.
And the minion wave has now been captured. So not as damaging as anticipated.
Pause. Trevor, that is a 2-minute VOD review that both these teams need to do. Because Misfits, I 100% believe, made the wrong decision there. OG tried to set a trap, which it could be a good idea, right? You kill Kobbe, then you pivot to the tower. But by it not working out, that meant they had 2 players that were not hitting the tower. That meant no turret plates went down. That meant the Herald was never placed, and now everything has been slowed down, and the deficit Misfits were supposed to be at doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't. There's a 300, 400 gold difference, which is just the first blood. The CS deficit that Dandan finds himself in is somewhat balanced out by Febiven's Azir in the mid lane, as Nukeduck has spent a fair amount of time roaming. and both of the duos bots are as even as they are going to be. So 10 minutes in, Origen are now looking to continue the siege. They've done that straight up lane swap. And Dandan, by the way, only 10 CS down now. He's scaling up a little bit more and has staunched the bleeding.
Yeah, for the time being, it's going to be all right for him. But again, this is why I was saying, like, once the lane swap comes through, Dandan gets space to try and farm, because now OG aren't going to be trying to dive his lane. They're going to make the swap again and maybe make that a reality. But for the few minutes that both teams were dancing around that top side of the map, he got to farm no problem here. And that's going to be really good news for Misfits, because again, the early game was going so dreadfully. I feel like for them, and it's just sort of been made up for.
Yeah, it absolutely has, and this gives Misfits some additional options and windows here. Had Alphari been, snowballed further ahead, had the gameplay
landed
exactly
against a target that didn't know it was coming.
Additional kills. I think OG could have been further ahead, but now let's look from the Misfits' perspective, right? They are the ones that was forced to lane swap to get down into a position where he can survive. There's an Infernal Drake coming up in 30 seconds. How do you want to see them play this out, as now Kobbe and DOS are making their way to the mid lane?
Yeah, so their comp isn't the easiest to play, especially because like OG's comp, like on 1 to 2 items, is very, very powerful. Still waiting on Kobbe to, sort of get that first big completed item. Your mana just going to be stacking up for the time being. So I think this is an objective that could very easily just go the way of Origen, but I have no doubt Misfits will try to contest this one. It's going to be very important to keep Nukeduck's damage off, because he has a TP. He's going to want to try and get him behind and really disrupt the backline. But Kobbe has exhaust, which is going to be pivotal for him.
And the positioning is quite strange. Xerxe snuck himself into this bush in the bottom of the river. Dandan will have to run through 2 members of Origen. While that's going on, teleport now started from Nukeduck. The dragon's going low. Dredgeline will find a target. Misfits pick up the second dragon of the game, and they blow up Destiny before anything else happens. Now it's a full retreat. Empress Divide buys some time until Dandan can re-engage. Upset gets chunked down by the Acathian Rain, and the Dredgeline will not find a target. Dandan gets a knock up on Xerxe, and he's running for his life. Subjugate buys some time. He will get taken out. Misfits get the kill, the TP, and the dragon.
Yeah, Misfits get everything they want right there, and it comes down to them making the snap call to burst down the Drake, and also Febiven's ult hard countering 3 melee champions who can no longer get onto them. Now, coming into this fight, OG super scattered. They're trying to find the pincer, but Destiny gets caught, and I think Nukeduck's teleport is in the wrong location. He can't get to the backline like this. He gets instantly pushed away. He needs to come from behind Azir. If Azir only has to focus one direction, it's so easy to play out within that team fight. OG becomes scattered, and Misfits wipe the floor around.
Skirmish goes the way of Misfits. 2 dragons under their belt. A kill to Razork, a kill to Kobbe. And honestly, they turned and burned Destiny the moment that Dredgeline connected. And you can see the strength of that combination, like Azir, Kai'Sa, Nautilus. There's a lot of mobility on this squad.
And it's always the counter. So when you see a team trying to come at you from multiple fronts, when you have engage, you just need to hard commit one direction, because OG couldn't gather themselves, right? It was just Upset and Destiny. They didn't have the damage coming through from any of their top side of the map. So DOS, I believe, who was the one that started that one off with the very good Dredgeline, made the instant call, and things went incredibly well for Misfits, who now have a lot of momentum.
And they are somewhat in control of this game. The 2 dragons under their belt. It's going to be an Ocean Soul as well to fight for, which is going to be massive. Very, very important for whoever's going to pick it up. And Misfits with an early advantage. 2 dragons under their belt. 13.5 minutes. Plates are about to drop. No towers taken just yet. And definitely not the most amount of pressure.
Did Rift Herald never get used by Xerxe?
We'll check with the observers. Find out whether or not it happened. I definitely did not notice it in terms of how the teams...
Because it definitely didn't hit a tower.
...have been moving around the map. And Origen right now, they are the ones a little bit on the back foot here. Look, Misfits are making some moves. Pressure in the mid lane as Febiven's shoving forward. Dandan is going to be catching this wave in the bottom lane. Xerxe's coming up from behind. Subjugate's available. Dandan will have a little extra time as he clears the minions out.
Yeah, showing down there. Misfits just can take control around that middle lane. And I mean, if you're Misfits in this situation, you know the map is being split against you. Dandan gonna struggle to farm on the next wave. He doesn't have a ward to protect himself either. So what do Misfits do? Well, they say, hey, Rift Herald has spawned for the second time. We have full control over top side. We have full control of the map. They can get some deep vision inside that top side of OG's jungle as well. Because if you continue to have this mid lane push, you can look for the same play that Xerxe is making just in the top lane.
Yeah, definitely. And
but
yeah, not going to find anything just yet. It will at least get some chip damage onto this tower. What are Misfits doing? They're looking for the Herald, it looks like. as Razork is working on that. I got a clarification from the production team. Because Xerxe was dead, he wasn't able to use it. So yes, it expired in the pit, so it didn't work out for them. And that play in the top lane, maybe even more damning now, right? In retrospect,
so bad.
Even more damning. You go back to the decision-making tree. Right now, we've slowed this game way down. Misfits not even going to commit to pushing this tower, playing very, very safe. You can actually feel the tension in the game. Nobody's really willing to put themselves in a risky position.
Yeah, and that's just sort of the nature, I think, of a lot of the games that we've seen so far this split even, is where all the contests come around the objective. So Ocean Soul, Ocean Rift here, Misfits just 2 away from that. They're going to be fighting tooth and nail for these next Ocean Drakes, because once they get that, you know, we've said it so many times, but the game really does feel completely over.
I'm very happy to see Kai'Sa being locked in here for Kobbe. I like what it can bring in terms of how team fights play out, the ability to reposition with Killer Instinct and you know, your hypercharge. And seeing how well Kobbe played on day 1, it gives me some hope here for Misfits if he can find the items.
Yeah, and I think that Kai'Sa is one of those champions that, because of her passive, she does so well at dealing with HP stackers. You know, Alphari, Xerxe going to be building HP. Nukeduck went for the pro develop first as well, so Kobbe going to be very good on that front. Kai'Sa also, because the dash, the invisibility, once you get that evolution, deals pretty well with melee champions and getting away from them. You know, if Renekton tries to dive in the backline, she just pops the invisibility, and his auto attack that would stun gets canceled, and then he's waiting around trying to find her. Then when she pops out, she has exhaust, and that is an adaptation I really like seeing here from Kobbe, because again, in these fights, sometimes he might not have his teammates around him. You know, DOS isn't always going to be able to peel for him, and in those moments, it will be Kobbe trying to escape from the inevitable Nukeduck and Alphari collapse.
Yeah, it really will, and right now there is a bit of a collapse onto Dan. He's in trouble. There is some support from Razork. Dan escapes with his life for now. Destiny throws out the hook, but it won't find a target. The Ocean Soul is up, Dragon rather, and now Misfits looking for the engage.
Yeah, so Dan's trying to reset and then teleport back into this fight. He doesn't have ultimate, but the rest of his team minus DOS do. Can Razork get the steal?
We're gonna have to find out. Misfits were able to do it last time around. OG are in there, Razork's inside the pit. It's going very, very low. Razork goes up, but the Death Sentence finds the target. Origen are able to pick up the Dragon, and DOS is forced to flash for his life. Razork dies inside the pit, and now DOS is going to get run down. Dan is moving back, and this time it doesn't work out for Misfits.
Yeah, that's a really pivotal fight there for Origen. We've seen twice now, the team that sets up around the Drake first has the much more focused team fight coming on out of that one, where Razork sort of throwing himself into the pit to try and steal that one away. He gets bursted down thanks to, I believe, a nice hook from Destiny, trying to get him away from the pit right there. So OG do hold on, stall out any potential soul fight for at least 5 minutes. And now Alphari, he's got himself a Blade of the Ruined King. Nukeduck's trying to get some items too. The ability to play side lanes for OG can be quite strong as the game moves on.
Now that is a theoretical statement, which I like. I would like to ask, how good have Origen been at playing side lanes? Because there are some discussions that I recall being involved in.
I would say that in Origen's history, side lane play is not the go-to. When they have good split pushers, a lot of the time it will still result in team fights. So what we look for in OG games is less of, let's put Alphari into a side lane to kill towers and to take inhibitors and to draw a ton of people towards him. Sometimes he does that when he like 1v3s on Gangplank. But rather what we'll see is them get pressure from side lanes and then collapse on towards mid lane and set up for the fights from proper angles. And that is what makes them a strong team fight team.
Well, Origen, we're putting some pressure in the top lane. Misfits were looking for a collapse. We're nearly 20 minutes in, and we have a competitive game. 2 dragons to 1, 3 kills to 2. Despite Dan being put very far behind early on, Misfits were able to rally and bring it back. Now Xerxe and Destiny gonna look for a little bit of damage onto Febiven. Despite the death sentence in the flame, nobody could take the Lantern. Emperor's Divide will buy some time, and Febiven is able to escape with his life. But Destiny, been a little bit more timely with that. Upset could have arrived, and Febiven is able to escape, but at the cost of his flash. Now, while that's going on, Blade of the Ruined King Renekton is gonna force Dan to dash over the wall, and we are entering this 20-minute phase. 1 tower down each, and this is just... like, it's just pressure and momentum in terms of the mini waves and where these people are putting
Exactly,
champions.
but those moves from Origen were really pivotal because the fight in mid lane lasted so long, right? Febiven thinks, oh, I can put down some poke. But of course, Destiny did land a good hook, and then Upset's ultimate is ultimately the damage that forced Febi to have to flash away from Xerxe. Meanwhile, bot side, Alphari, we mentioned it with the finished Blade of the Ruined King, destroys in this matchup now.
Yes.
Dan cannot take a fair fight against him, so it looks like Misfits are saying, oh, how do we respond? Let's put Febiven down into the bottom lane, send some magic damage into the Renekton, of course, because he went for the Ninja Tabis. Also, you can keep it in range when Febi has ultimate. Alphari can't really go for the kill unless he commits the flash, and that's going to be a little bit extra in a side lane.
What I really, really love about every single champion in this game is that the execution in these team fights is what's going to determine the success factor. Not whether or not somebody is beefy enough on the front line and unkillable. And that just makes it really exciting to anticipate the next fight around the dragon, for example. Baron is now up. I think it's a little early. However, you have to start factoring this in as the game progresses.
And that's because so many of the champions in this game have very high agency. And this is a term used by designers to describe champions that have many tools to be able to carry the game and don't have to rely on their teammates. That means you have mobility, you can attack people from range, you have some CC, you have damage. Look at a Renekton. He's got pretty much all of that. You got an Ekko that can do that. Ezreal too, one of the higher agency ADCs. Misfits, a lot of the same on their side. So that's why these fights can get really, really messy, because it is individuals trying to pop off.
It is indeed. That's a death sentence to Kobbe. He's not taken down just yet. The exhaust buys time. Killer Instinct sends him to safety. Somehow, nobody dies in that fight. The blast cone pushing Misfits to safety.
So let's talk about agency there, because Kai'Sa just demonstrated it wonderfully. Even when you get caught, you have the tools to escape, and didn't have to use either summoner spell there, which is absolutely critical, especially because Xerxe lost his. So now him attacking a Kobbe or a Febiven in a fight, never going to happen. He's only going to be able to whack away at the front line.
Now, the tower did fall in the bottom lane from Origen, and now they've got position in the mid lane. The Pillar of Ice goes up. Where is this teleport coming down? Straight behind the tower. Febiven has arrived. 2 towers secured. A piece. Febiven picked himself up the Luden's Ekko, and Alphari's getting the scuttle up north. They don't want to fight to break out just yet.
Yeah, so Misfits actually need to take resets with their jungle and support, because they need wards. They don't really have control wards coming in to the ocean fight that's going to take place in about 25 seconds, whereas OG don't need those same resets. They have the vision, they have their items completed. Zhonya's Hourglass, a major purchase here for Nukeduck, just got finished off. At the same time, Febi got his 2 items, so 40% CDR. The soldiers are going to be flying. Kobbe also has himself a Rage Blade here, so it's looking very good. The only thing that's missing is Trinity Force for upset.
What I love, this is Dragon Fight round 3.
Oh my
And it starts with Razork getting chunked down. That's a lot of damage.
That pillar was
out.
so sick. It interrupted his safeguard right there. And now he's very low. He needs to find something to hit. Otherwise, he's going to be 50% HP. And he's on a ward.
Oh, my word. Upset's going to try find and hunt him down. Doesn't work out just yet.
Look at this Alphari flank coming around on towards Misfits. They have a tower they're trying to play for, but they're flipped sides on the map.
Yeah, they're on the wrong side, but there is an Azir Sundisk helping them out. Razork is low on HP. He's trying to heal up what he can. The minion wave has been cut off by Origen.
This is crazy.
This isn't even a dragon fight. This is a mid-lane, non-existing tower fight.
Yeah, so the thing is, Misfits are going to move up into the top river. They don't have the, the property on this map to contest around the Drake, so they're going to start up this Baron with the intent that they can pull over OG without a jungler and go for a 5 versus 4 fight.
Oh my word, with their Azir, with the Kai'Sa, they can burn through this so quickly. This is how they lost to Fnatic inside the pit. The Baron's going low. Nukeduck's trying to do what he can. And it is picked up by, I can't quite see that just yet. As we turn our attention, it's Misfits. They get it. They managed to secure it. Doss is running for his life. Nukeduck is trying to dive onto Febiven. He's got the Sand Soldiers doing work as a True Shot Barrage helps out. And as Nukeduck goes forward, thanks to the Hourglass, the Flash Flay from Destiny helps set up another. But Misfits, they got the Baron and the get out with 3.
What a call to make right there from Origen, saying, Xerxe, we don't even want you around the pit without a flash. You're not going to steal this one. And they take the team fight instead. So there's a lot to unpack in this thought process, because I think in OG's mind, they're saying a 24-minute Baron, what does that net Misfits? Frankly, it's not going to be an inhibitor. That is very unrealistic that they're able to find that one. So it's a top lane outer turret, maybe it's an inner tower. And they think if they can get the free Ocean Drake, get themselves closer to a soul, while also finding a couple of kills on the back end of that fight, that it is going to be worth. And I think that with the result that happened, it is, but that is a very difficult call to make in the moment.
And also, Misfits committing to the Baron again. Think back to the Fnatic game. You know, it was a Baron call with a lead that ended up costing them the game. This time around, they stayed on that. They committed to that.
But it's crucial. It's crucial. Xerxe was on the Drake, so it wasn't a 50-50. If if Razork has eyes, he's going to be able to land that smite, and he does. But now this is where we're like, well, does the Baron power play actually net them more money than it does OG? Because they lost a lot of time because they lost Febi in that fight.
Yeah, they really did. And I mean, we're going to have to see what happens. It is still bang on even. Gold, Dragon, I mean, there's a few extra kills here for OG. But both teams are showing that the calls that they commit to, they can win, right?
Yeah.
And there's no clear advantage just yet. The one question I do have, what about scaling headroom? Do you favor a particular team composition, maybe in terms of ease of execution? Because, frankly, they both seem very complex.
So the thing is, I really like the backline of Azir plus Kai'Sa. Nukeduck, though, trying to jump on towards Kobbe.
He is really trying. Killer Instinct is still available for Kobbe. He's got the shield. The Chrono Break goes backwards. It's Dandan is going to end up being the target. Doss throws out his ultimate. Dandan stays alive, gets the knock up onto Destiny. He's down to 200 HP. Kobbe can't find the Cathian Rain, and the Mystic Shots won't find a kill. Now Razork is flashless, and he's trying to push it back, but thanks to Misfits re-engage, they get the tower.
They're going to get the tower now. Alphari is still in the bottom lane. He was channeling Recall for a second, maybe considering TPing in towards the fight. He's just going to be going for that inner tower while Dandan also comes on down here. So both top laners do have TP. They can enter, and there's great TP flank wards for Alphari if he wants to make the play.
Febiven just picked up the blue buff from behind. That's a kickback onto Xerxe. The Dredge line will catch him as well. Waiting for the TP for Alphari is not happening yet. Parallel convergence.
Look at Upset!
Upset missed the Mystic Shot. Kobbe survives because the Mystic Shot did not find its target. Upset gets taken up by Febiven, and now Alphari is TPing in to a 4 versus 5. He's going to be forced away. Febiven flashes. The Emperor's Divide locks him inside the jungle. Misfits won the fight, and I really want to see, had that Mystic Shot connected with Kobbe, I think it would have killed him.
I mean, but I feel like it's a huge misstep right there from OG. Alphari waited so long on the TP. It looked like Upset was trying to make all the plays by himself. We're not on the same page with Alphari coming in. They certainly could have found kills. Now it's just Nukeduck trying to stall out and clear away the wave, but he can't do it. The turret is going to go down, and Misfits are going to try to keep on going.
What a fantastic passage of play here for Misfits. 4,000 gold up. The inhibitor in the top lane is just about to go down, and Febiven's shifting sands doing work with the sand soldiers. Dandan's going to be able to back away. He doesn't take the tower down. But man, oh man. This game is bouncing on a knife's edge, and now Razork is the only one that I think gets interrupted here. 1-2. This is a teleport coming down.
That's a kill for sure.
Yeah, Nukeduck's going to look for the face dive into the time winder. This should be pretty
Razork's going to kick him, but then...
Some time. He flashes as well. Okay, trading TP for flash, probably worth at this stage. How much more do OG commit? This is chasing a loss.
Yeah, well, because I'm thinking about it, I'm like, is it worth for Razork to flash right there? And I'm almost positive the answer is no.
Okay.
Because he would still respawn before the Ocean Drake comes up, and now he doesn't have the ability to, like, go for that flashy play, quite frankly. Now, Upset's the player to watch in this one because he sees the damage going on to Upset. He jumps forward into it, and he stalls it out with the Zhonya's, but his team is not on the same page. Nukeduck has no mana, and Alphari delayed his teleport for so long. He went in after Upset was already coming out. Like, the coordination is not there, and it's these late-game decision-making moments that OG have to be better in because they're trying to play side lane. He's like, I can push guys. Well, OG, you're going up against Baron. All you have to do is clear away the minion waves. Your decision-making is pretty straightforward. You don't have to be heroes here because Baron was about to time out.
Well, unfortunately, the decision to come later in the fight has cost control. The inhibitor down in the top lane. 4 kills to 5. We're 8 seconds away from the Ocean Drake. And Misfits are temporarily in control. 3k up, Super's in the top lane. But OG are going to be able to contest this.
Look, I love Super Fantasy, but give me the items. Look at this. 3 items completed for Febi and Kobbe. Febi, though, getting caught out.
Yeah, he is. Emperor's Divide is available to buy some time. He's going to be able to slide away. Still putting out the damage. They haven't got the CC. They haven't got the follow-up. Nukeduck is going to be the target, and Febi will go down to Xerxe and Alphari, but at what cost? That's a 1-for-1. Now Dandan's trying to dissuade and interrupt the backline. He gets caught by the death sentence and still gets a knock-up onto Upset. He manages to use an double dash to get to safety. There goes the kick onto Nukeduck. He will be able to find the lantern in just a moment. The Dredge line catches a wall, I think. Wasn't able to catch Nukeduck. It's a 1-for-2, and Misfits unlock Dragon.
Yeah, it's a great collapse there from Misfits. Febi saying, I can stall again. It's 3-4 melee champions trying to funnel in against an Azir. So sure, Febi does fall in the end. Alphari was able to take him down, but the amount of time he was able to buy with that ultimate was massive, and the Baron just respawned. Xerxe's still dead. Misfits are getting everything.
Unbelievable unbelievable game so far between Misfits and OG, and I'm going to remind everyone of the quote that Amazing gave me before this game, and he said he thinks the level they showed against Fnatic was a much clearer indication of this team's strengths. And this is one of the most even games that we have seen. Despite a minor lead for Misfits, it could still flip backwards. Baron, again, upset. Destiny, Nukeduck are near the pit. Smite is available, and Misfits will pick this one up. Now, DOS connects with the dredge line. That's a golden Nukeduck for now. Here comes Xerxe. Mystic shots are being fired into the pit. There's not many flashes available. DOS will get caught. Kobbe uses the killer instinct to the backside. He's able to force Nukeduck's ultimate away. Now Xerxe's the next target. Kobbe's running him down. The Emperor's Divide will not be able to lock anyone against the wall. Flash over the wall from Xerxe. He's running for his life. Destiny's dead in the back lane. DOS did not die. DOS stayed alive the entire time, and Misfits get 2.
And there's minions still inside the base, Trevor. This is going to be GG for Misfits. All they have to do is keep pushing in towards the top lane, in towards the base. Nukeduck's low. They've got to reset. They've got to find themselves time because Misfits are so strong. Kobbe and Febiven are going to go just rampage through this base.
Fantastic game of League of Legends so far in Origen. Now trying to defend a 5 versus 3 with Baron minions. Surely it is done. Misfits have got another kill. They find a 4th. They've got the ace. They've got the Nexus turret. And Misfits take down Origen.
I love it, Trevor. Top of the standings. It's like rock, paper, scissors over here. Who's going to beat who? Misfits taking down a huge win against OG right there. And quite frankly, the team fights, they just showed up and played better, I felt like.
What a game! That was fantastic. Look, I am really happy to see Origen committing to the fights. We've seen multiple games now this week. They're jumping in there. They're committing. It was a little late on the Alphari teleport, right? There's multiple moments of VOD review for both teams this game, what they can take away from it. But, I mean, what a crazy weekend of results. Kira player of the game, by the way, at LEC on Twitter. Dan, Febiven, Kobbe are your options for now. But I'm on a bit of a buzz. You know, I really enjoyed this. One of the other things that that I think will be a narrative I want to explore over the coming weeks is just how much more competitive our entire league is.
Yeah.
And seeing some of these teams trading back and forth, it gives me hope.
And how it evolves over the course of the season, too, because week 1 gives us a taste, but it is nowhere near the real thing just yet. We've got a lot of league left to play.
Yes, yes, yes. When we return, Dan explains how on earth Misfits secured that Baron as they pick up the first win of the Summer Split. Plastic high five.
Boom! Look out.
Don't break it.
Jeez.
Okay.
Hello. Hi, I'm Christy Frierson, back behind the LEC studio here in Berlin, Germany, where Electronic are going to be kicking off their 2020 summer tour. Let's take a deep dive interview to get a closer look at the pop sensations. Come on. So, Drakos. hey, no, over here, please. Please, thank you. So, Drakos, what can you tell me about your creative process? How do you guys find inspiration for your wonderful music?
Well, man, to be honest, music is kind of just like the it's like the meta, man. So like when it's front to back, it's this kind of simple, you know, basic poppy chord progression. But when we get to assassin meta, that's when it really like gets wild, and we really start to like push the musical boundaries in a way that I don't really think that people have seen before. They talk about jazz as revolutionary, like you haven't even heard the stuff that we're working on, and that's not even like the half of it. When we get to a Kali meta, it gets really wild.
welcome back to LEC, everyone. Misfits just scored their first win of the split, and I have Dan with me to talk about the game. Hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm great. How are you? I mean, third time is a charm, I want to say. How was this game for you?
Yeah, it's kind of turning into a Misfits classic. I think just running it down the first 2 games and then actually playing fine afterwards. So we're counting on that 7-win streak right now. So yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good. Well, I want to know a bit more about this. How did you manage to win today, and what was missing yesterday and the day before for you guys to win also?
I think it's just the jitters at the start. It's just consistency. I think it's just a matter of just getting used to things because we're still playing from home when we're more of a stage team. I think on stage, as all in all, we just have like just a lack of focus on like everyone. Just if something just goes wrong, then it's much easier for us to focus on stage. And since we're in a more comfortable setting at home now, I think it is more difficult for us to adapt when we're in this comfortable setting than when we are 100% focused.
I get what you're saying, but I'm wondering how important is it for you to score wins on the first week? I mean, I know that it can be important for rookie lineups, for instance, but for you guys, was it really something you needed mentally?
Not particularly, I think.
Okay.
After the loss against Fnatic, we were not as devastated as from losing yesterday, because we could actually see our potential when we were playing against Fnatic. It was like kind of a clean game early on, even though they didn't play their best game. But losses like that are okay to have at the early stages, because those wins, I mean, the wins later on in the split just like are obviously like a little bit more important towards the playoff standings. Like any win is nice, but as long as you play well at the early stages, then you can see progress. It's okay.
Any win is nice, but I'm glad that you said this, because it proves that Misfits has a strong mental already, and this is everything we want to see, actually. But I want to focus a bit more about the game here. Everybody was talking about the Barons. I want to show you the first one, because I have a question about this. We see that Xerxe is on the bot side of the map, taking care of the dragon. You are initiating the Baron on the other side. But I'm wondering, why didn't you decide to fight Origen before finishing Baron?
It's just a split-second call here. We saw that Trundle was just not on it, and suddenly we were like, oh, it's actually dying really, really fast. So we decided, like, our coach here afterwards said that after the Baron died, we should have turned, which is probably better if I just positioned better. But I was just griefing a little bit with my positioning, and then we just decided to just play it safe, get the 100% play, get the Nash, and just get out, even though we could have fought.
I see. Well, you still managed to get it in the end and do something with it. I don't have the replay of the second Baron, but still, we were all wondering, how did you get this second one?
It was also just, we won that fight at the... Well, we won the fight at the Drake, I think, and then suddenly we said, oh, we can go Nash, and then everyone was like, oh, yeah, cool. So we went, and Trundle was like running out of base, and I guess we're a little bit traumatized, because I think... Reckless stole the Baron against us in the Fnatic one, and I saw my jungler shaking his boots that he was gonna get his the Nash stolen by an ADC again. But yeah, we have full faith in Razork to secure the Barons.
Nice, no trauma here. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you very much, Dan, for the interview, and congrats on the first win of the split for you.
Thank you.
And we're gonna take a break, and coming back, Vitality will have a big task, facing off against G2. See you soon, guys.